Sean Callahan here in Belton, Texas at Mary Hardin Baylor as the Nebraska coaching staff just wrapped up day one of a two-day Texas satellite swing. On Tuesday, they'll be at Houston Christian, but it was a doubleheader here today in Belton as 8 assistant Nebraska football coaches worked the event. It was a morning session that featured the lineman prospects, and then an afternoon session that was skill players. And I think the storyline you got to start out with from the day is Nebraska did make a new offer here in the camp. Defensive lineman Konstantin Pastures from 2024 class. He's out of Germany. He was one of several players from Gridiron Imports at the camp. Nebraska offered him after the morning session. Then one of his teammates that was also here at the camp as well was David Hoffen, and he is a 2023, so he could get somebody, or excuse me, 2024. He could get somewhere right now immediately. He's a 22-year-old offensive tackle that measures in about 6'8" and 270 pounds. He will work out again for Nebraska on Tuesday. This could be a situation where they could look to maybe add a guy like this, like they did a year ago with players like James Williams. So those were the two big stories that came out of it. You had a number of other big name players here though as well. Devontae Kirkland out of Waco. He's a 2027. He was here working out as a defensive back. And then Jordan Frohart was another 2027 defensive back that Nebraska looked at. Brock Boyd, a 4-star, a 2026 wide receiver. He came out here and worked out as well. He already holds a Nebraska offer. And then in the morning session, then you had one of Nebraska's top 2026 prospects here on the defensive line, and Jamarian Carlton. He's a 4-star prospect, one of the top players in Texas, and no doubt one of the highest ranked players on the Nebraska board. He actually visited Lincoln earlier this summer during an AAU basketball tournament that took place in Omaha. All right, that's the prospect report from the camp. Let's bring in HuskerOnline's Steve Sipple, who was on site with me, as well as our videographer, Greg Peterson. And Sip, you look at this camp, I think one of the more interesting things right off the bat to you and I was UTEP's presence. You had UTEP, who plays Nebraska to open this 2024 season. Their entire coaching staff, led by head coach Scotty Walden, worked the camp side by side with the Nebraska coaching staff.
Wasn't that a little surprise? I mean, it wasn't necessarily a surprise to us, but it was kind of a bonus. We got an extensive interview with Scotty Walden, whose favorite player, by the way, all-time favorite player is Eric Crouch.
And he meant that.
Yeah, well, he means it. Scotty Walden was a Division III quarterback, tough running quarterback like Eric Crouch. Didn't win the Heisman, but like Eric. But yeah, Walden, high energy. You saw it in the way he addressed the players. You saw it in our interview. You'll see it on the interview on Husker Online. And it was, I mean, that was interesting. But, Sean, one of the big bonuses, too, of coming to a camp like this for us is access to Matt Rule's staff. I mean, it
doesn't happen like this ever.
No, it's really fascinating to have 15 minutes with Evan Cooper, 15 minutes with E.J. Barthel, 12 minutes with Marcus Satterfield. I'll talk to Terrence Knight and tomorrow. We're learning so much about this team, about the second year. Like, for instance, I'll give you for instance, Evan Cooper. Evan Cooper is big on he likes getting players raw. He doesn't need them refined, he said. I don't necessarily want them refined because we put our coaching on them. And then it just works out so well. So like Braylon Prude last year at the Houston camp, that was the kind of guy they're looking for. So, I mean, Sean, we come to this camp, and it's incredible how much we learn.
Well, and we saw them last year make offers at a lot of camps. And Braylon Prude was a guy, like you said,
yes.
they found at a camp like this today. They offered Konstantin Pastures, and you got to think David Hoffen is on the radar, but he's a guy they could add immediately. So they go in here trying to uncover some new players, but then they also have some young, big targets. I talked about it earlier, Brock Boyd, the 2026 wide receiver. He's a 4-star player. You had a number of other guys, Jamarian Carlton, another 4-star guy. So it's a great opportunity for the Husker staff to coach and work with players as well that are in the classes of 2026 and even 2027.
And wouldn't you say, Sean, I mean, we were here last year for this Belton camp. I thought the talent level escalated dramatically this year. Was that your sense?
Yeah, and I think just another year of it. I think now people know, wow, Nebraska's going to be here. Schools like UTEP, their whole staff, they're going to make offers. So you did see a deeper camp pool. And, the other interesting angle, we talked about this, gridiron imports.
Yeah.
There were probably 40 overseas prospects here as well. And Nebraska obviously made one offer in that group today. But just adding that flavor to the camp really, I think, changed the dynamic.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit. It's headed up by Chris Abramson. He's in charge of the talent part. His son, Grady Abramson, is going to Georgia Tech as a 2025 quarterback.
Right.
So yeah, that was a very intriguing part of this too. And now on to Houston. Nebraska's coaching staff now goes on to Houston, and that's where we'll go tomorrow.
So they'll take that Husker plane that we've seen pictures of, and they're going to fly that from Temple to Houston. Now, we'll drive, by the way. We're
not on the plane.
We're not on the plane.
They don't allow us on the plane.
We're going to go. We're finding Starbucks and then drive over to Houston, and the camp tomorrow will kick off again in the morning, I believe around 10 a.m. So another full day of coverage, and we've got plenty of exclusive one-on-one interviews as well with all the Husker coaches here in attendance, as well as UTEP Scotty Walden. You're going to hear from him as well. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe to us here on the Husker Online channel. We got a great deal and promo as well. 2 months of access, promo code NU1. For Steve Sipple, Greg Peterson, I'm Sean Callahan signing off here in Belton, Texas.